Hello again, everyone. I cannot believe that it has taken me this long to talk to you about elephants. It's a shame, really, because I adore these gigantic babbies. And because I'm originally from a country that is home to many elephants. I'm talking about Asian elephants, not the African variety. They look similar enough, really. They're both Muppets, just on different sides of the Muppet scale. Welcome back to Sketchbook Biology. The Asian elephant is the largest land animal in Asia and one of the most intelligent and socially complex mammals on Earth. They're found across parts of South and Southeast Asia, living in forests, grasslands, and wetlands. Compared to their African cousins, Asian elephants are slightly smaller, have rounded ears, and only some males grow long tusks. They form matriarchal communities with strong family bonds and a clear social hierarchy. They're great communicators and cooperate with their herd to live their best elephant lives. They also have a lot of personality. Each elephant can be very different in how they approach their world and the things in it. And science caught onto this some time ago, not just in elephants but in a whole bunch of animals. When these behavioral differences in individuals stay consistent over time and across situations, we call them personality traits. In our behavioral studies, these individual differences can explain a sizable chunk of variation we see within populations, usually over 30%. And having a mix of personality types in a population can be very useful, because as an animal, the outside world is very unpredictable and most of the time very scary. Being bold when looking for food, even if it means getting spotted by predators, might be better than starving when food is rare. On the flip side though, when food is abundant, being more cautious could reduce the risk of getting eaten. And having both types of individuals in your herd means that as a group, you will have much better luck finding food and staying safe, regardless the circumstances. And that last bit is particularly relevant when we look at how animals deal with human-caused environmental changes. Human-dominated landscapes throw a whole lot of unfamiliar challenges at animals. Constant noise, light and chemical pollution, new barriers, new predators, or new competition, but also new opportunities. An animal's reaction to new things affects how much it explores and gathers information, which can later influence survival and reproduction. Exploring novelty might help an animal find new food sources, but it can also waste their time, expose it to danger, or if they're like me, they'll end up eating something that their tummies might not agree with. So you end up with animals falling on a spectrum from neophobic, which is fear-driven avoidance of novelty, to neophilic, which is the natural motivation to approach and investigate something new. In human-dominated landscapes, we see a lot of the latter. But this might be a case of perception. We may be observing more neophilic animals simply because there is more to observe, and they may not be trying to hide. Evidence isn't consistent, and researchers still aren't sure whether animals in urban environments are generally more or less neophilic. And that is the exact gap in knowledge that a team of talented researchers, Sarah Jacobson, Joshua Plotniak, Sangbardita Kool, Mananyaplaad, Supang Sitichok, and Manok Yindi from the City University of New York, and the Golden Triangle Asian Elephant Foundation in Chiang Rai, Thailand, decided to investigate with the help of some very nice elephants. Please do let me know if I've gotten any of the names wrong, because I'm sure I did at least 5 of them. Anyway, where better to find Asian elephants doing their thing without us bothering them than the Salakpra Wildlife Sanctuary. This is a protected area covering about 860 square kilometers that is closed to public tourism. It's a part of a large forest complex in western Thailand that's very important for elephant conservation. Now, while it is closed to the public, Salakpra is surrounded by villages and farmland to various degrees. In some places, there's quite a bit of farmland pushing into the sanctuary, which makes Salakpra a great place to observe elephant behavior across different levels of human exposure. The researchers first decided to designate 3 study sites. One site was about 9 kilometers inside the sanctuary with no regular human presence, and they referred to this site as the protected area. The other 2 sites were closer to farmland and referred to as HDLs, where people were commonly present. Now, to test the elephant's attraction to novelty, the team selected 2 novel items: a cattle brush with stiff bristles and a woven fire hose. These objects were chosen because they're fairly large and complex, which tends to encourage exploratory behavior. They also don't look like food or resemble predators, so they're unlikely to trigger feeding or fear responses. And most importantly, neither object had previously been present in the sanctuary or nearby areas, so it's very unlikely that the elephants had encountered them before. At each of the 3 study sites, a cattle brush and a fire hose were installed on trees about 2 to 3 meters above the ground and 30 to 50 meters apart from each other. The selected trees were next to elephant paths or showed signs of frequent rubbing. All of this greatly increased the chances that the elephants would encounter the novel items. Around each item, the researchers also installed 3 or 4 motion-activated camera traps set to record the area around the tree. When triggered by movement or body heat, the cameras recorded 20-second video clips day or night with the help of infrared lights. Also, researchers did record elephant behavior at each site for at least 2 weeks before introducing any new objects to get a baseline of elephant behavior at the sites. This allowed the researchers to confirm any behavioral changes observed later were due to the novel objects themselves and not something about the site itself. So once everything was set up, the researchers started the experiment and collected footage of the elephants, the cattle brush and the fire hose from February 2022 to December 2023, carefully cataloging elephant behavior. With their data, the team focused on analyzing how long it took elephants to approach and touch the objects, and the time spent near or interacting with the objects, because these measures are commonly used to capture and quantify attraction to and exploration of novelty. They found that elephants were much quicker to approach the installation tree when a novel object was present compared to baseline conditions, and they spent far more time close to the tree when there was an object. However, the total amount of time that the elephants spent within the broader 10-meter perimeter didn't really change. suggesting that the novel object specifically affected how elephants interacted with the immediate space around it, rather than how long they lingered in the area overall. They also compared behavior between elephants living deep inside the protected area with those near the farms. Here, the researchers found that elephants near human-dominated landscapes were more likely to approach and touch the novel objects, and they did so much more quickly than elephants inside the protected area. About half of all elephants approached the objects and just over a third touched them. But elephants near farms were consistently faster and more willing to investigate. Interestingly, this effect was strongest for elephants that approached the objects quickly. And among these elephants, those near farms were far more likely to approach and touch the objects than elephants in protected areas. For elephants that hesitated and took longer to investigate, behavior was more similar across locations. Researchers think that being quick to engage with novelty may be especially beneficial in agricultural areas, where elephants might access the crops or work out how to navigate barriers before people detect them. Particularly because crops, fences, vehicles, and other human-made features appear and disappear frequently. The nutritional benefits of accessing crops could outweigh the risks of approaching unfamiliar objects, making neophilia a very useful personality trait to have. And finally, for elephants that encountered both objects, the researchers tested whether each elephant behaved in similar ways across encounters, which would allow them to see whether attraction to novelty was a consistent personality trait rather than a one-time response. And for this small subset of elephants that did encounter both brush and fire hose, there was no strong evidence that individuals responded in the same way across objects. Individual elephants didn't consistently take the same amount of time to approach or touch different objects, and how long an elephant stayed close to or played with an object also varied from one object to another. Researchers suggest that at least in this study, responses to these new objects were not stable enough to confidently say that wild Asian elephants are neophilic. But the thing to note here is that the number of elephants discovering and interacting with both objects was fairly small. And behavior in the wild is also influenced by many factors that are hard to control. So it is possible that stronger patterns would emerge with more trials and more participants. Overall though, the results do show that wild elephants living near farms are more attracted to and are more willing to engage with novelty than elephants living deep inside protected forests. And the lack of strong consistency in behavior could mean that elephants are responding flexibly to novelty. And that opens up a whole can of worms with questions like, do naturally curious elephants like to spend more time near farms? Or do elephants become more neophilic as they gain experience in human-dominated landscapes? All good things to think about and investigate because human-elephant conflict is very real. Elephants often stumble into our farmlands and find out that we grow yummy veggies and fruits, and they want to come back for seconds. This is unfortunately inevitable as we push further into their forests. We need to better understand why some elephants are repeat offenders so that we can hopefully build better and less unpleasant deterrents. And that is where we leave these beautiful Asian elephants. A special thank you to our researchers and anyone else that helped create this beautiful piece of science. And thank you for being here, watching this video and supporting me. If today is your birthday, happy birthday, and I hope you get an opportunity to see a bunch of elephants in their natural habitat. It's really something special. But if you're not having the most elephantastic day, I hope you use that big beautiful brain of yours to think many happy thoughts and to forgive me for that pun. And if you're just out there, wondering whether elephants can even jump, please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys again soon. Peace.